All right, before we launch into the war itself, I want to talk about the causes of the war. This is a very important part of studying World War I, and my top 10 list was a necessary precursor to this discussion. I'm going to use an old, very tired, trite acronym called MAIN to summarize the causes of the war. MAIN, M-A-I-N, which stands for militarism, the alliance system, imperialism, and nationalism. Let's talk first about militarism. What do I mean by that? Well, I think really it means three things. One, it means the industrialization of warfare. We've talked about the development of modern nations and this powerful force of industrialization. It was a scientific management had been applied to military ventures as well. And so we now have much more industrialized, powerful militaries. Germany displayed one when it beat the crap out of France very easily in the Franco-Prussian War. I think it also means, however, a glorification of warfare. Jackson Lear's famous historian in America on the Gilded Age wrote that the dispiriting effects of industrialization, urbanization, we've talked about that, the dispiriting effects of that led men to glorify war, to think that, wow, I'm now this mindless automaton, this giant urban industrial machine. Maybe I would feel better if I went to war, this noble, ancient, man-making enterprise. Teddy Roosevelt's actions typify this, and this is true of Europeans as well. And third, militarism means an increasing arms and naval race, bigger guns, more ships. We've already talked about Kaiser Wilhelm's desire for a navy bigger than Britain's. So, militarism is a long-term cause of World War I. What is the short-term manifestation of that cause that we can see? And I think it's automatic mobilization plans. These newly industrialized, scientifically managed machines had these carefully laid plans that once you set in motion were rather difficult to stop. Germany particularly relied on such a plan because of something called the von Schlieffen plan. Let me explain that. Kaiser Wilhelm II fired Bismarck, and the Three Emperors League withered away, and it appeared Germany might have to face the reality of a two-front war. And so a brilliant general named von Schlieffen came up with the von Schlieffen plan, which said that if we're going to fight, the Russians are slow, so if we're going to fight the Russians, oddly, what we have to do is attack France very fast. We're going to attack France in two lines. See these yellow lines here. We're going to attack France, and we're going to sort of weaken our left hinge, and we're going to strengthen our right hinge. What that will do, of course, is the French will logically they'll attack the weaker hinge. Then the right hinge will swing around and will crush the French, and now we'll be headed back to Germany, and we'll just keep moving all the way to eastern Germany to kick the crap out of the Russians. So this can be done in 6 weeks, but if you think the Russians are going to declare war, you've got to move fast. And that's what Germany did when World War I began. And the Von Schlieffen plan stalled, but very nearly succeeded. Cause number 2 is the alliance system. Nothing elaborate here to understand. We have the Triple Alliance up against the Triple Entente. We have Europe in 2 giant armed camps. It obviously increases the likelihood of war. Now, important point here. France did not join the war with Germany and Austria-Hungary, despite the Triple Alliance. France held out for a while, and both sides tried to lure it in. And ultimately, the Allied powers, the Triple Entente, pulled in Italy by promising to give it part of the Austrian Empire when it was defeated. And so we refer to the powers in the war not as the Triple Entente and the Triple Alliance, but as the Allied powers, that's the Triple Entente plus Italy, versus the Central powers, Germany, Austria-Hungary, Bulgaria, and the Ottoman Empire. Why Central? Because you see they're in the center of the map. The short-term manifestation of the alliance system was simply that some of these allies had agreed to mutual automatic declarations of war. If someone attacks you, then I will automatically declare war on them. And this sort of made the war, the powers assemble very quickly. It acted to speed a rush to war. Cause number 3, imperialism. Nations compete. We know how important imperialism was in the late 19th century, and nations competed, typically in Africa. This caused a contretemps between nations. For example, Britain wanted to build a railroad in Africa from Cairo to Cape Town, both places that it controlled. But to do so, it would have to build it through places controlled by Germany, and the Germans protested, so it never happened. And if it had happened, by the way, Africa would have a better position for economic development. But anyway, imperialism, competition between nations for colonies. Short-term manifestation of imperialism, really there are two. One with the two Moroccan crises leading up to the war, and the short story there is Germany made belligerent moves regarding Morocco, Morocco was a colony of France. France protested, and their new buddy Britain backed them up. And Germany had to back down in both cases. Also the Balkan Wars. There were 2 wars fought in the Balkans in 1912 and 1913. All you really need to know about that is that Austria felt very dissatisfied with the diplomatic results of those 2 wars. And finally, nationalism, cause 4. You already know about nationalism, this growing conviction in the 19th century that people with similar ethnicity and language, perhaps religion, should live together in an autonomous nation-state ruled by them. This was particularly problematic, you'll recall, for the Austro-Hungarian Empire because it was a multinational state. And so the short-term manifestation of this was the assassination of Franz Joseph's heir, the Archduke Franz Ferdinand, on June 28, 1914. He was assassinated by a Serb. There were Serbs living in the Austro-Hungarian Empire in present-day Bosnia and Herzegovina, and Franz Ferdinand was there to review some troops, of whom he was an honorary colonel. We see militarism in Sarajevo. And this Serb, member of a secret organization called the Black Hand, Gavrilo Princip was his name, assassinates the Archduke and his wife. Austria claims that Serbia, the nation, had a hand, their intelligence network had a hand in the assassination, which quite frankly was true. Historically, that was proven true. And so, Serbia, you need to let us come in and conduct an investigation. Serbia said no, and this leads ultimately to a declaration of war by Austria. And of course, Russia says, "Hey, you can't push around our little Slavic brothers, so we're going to declare war on you." And Germany goes, "Oh, wait a minute, if we even think you're going to declare war on our ally Austria, then we have to go attack France." And so the whole European continent exploded into war.